Unst is the northernmost of the inhabited British Isles. The first leg of the trip is the ferry from mainland to Yell. It takes just around 10 minutes to get to Unst. This replica Viking Longhouse is based on the results of 3 excavations of longhouses on the island. There are the remains of 60 longhouses on Unst. The house is built using traditional techniques, meaning that the wooden joints fit perfectly without the need for nails. At the centre of the main living area is a hearth for heat, light and cooking. Longhouses would have been used as family living space as well as animal shelter. This house was also where Christian Lewis and his dog Jet stayed on December the 31st, 2019 to see in the new year. Alongside the house is a replica Viking Longship. This is the Skid Bladner. It is a full-size replica of the Gogstad ship found in a burial mound in Norway. Like the original, it is made from oak and uses the clinker technique. The Vikings invented the keel and the steering oar for their ships. Longships used a single, large square sail made from wool and leather straps. The symmetrical design of the bow and the stern meant the ship could sail in either direction without needing to turn. If there was no wind, the crew relied on oar power. Andrew is a keen walker, so we took on the 9-kilometre walk to see Muckle Flugga. The rest of us weren't up to it, so we decided to take in the views and then track down the nearest cafe. This is the former shore station, which provided accommodation for the keepers at Muckle Flugga Lighthouse. 4 keepers and their families lived at Burrowfirth Shore Station. Supplies and relief crew were transported to the rock in a small open boat. The first boat to service the lighthouse would have been a 6-oared rubbing boat known as a sixareen. Right, time to find that cafe at Haroldswick Bay. Not a bad spot for coffee and cake. Meanwhile, at Muckle Flugga, the Muckle Flugga Lighthouse is the most northerly in the UK. You can just make out the ruins of the church on the shoreline on the left. The church was built during the 12th century. There are a number of original stone crosses in the graveyard, and the church was still in use until 1785. The bay overlooks Lunder Wick, and it's a lovely peaceful setting. Time to catch the ferry back to Yell. Back on mainland, we visited Frankie's, the most northerly fish and chip shop in the UK. Great food and stunning views across Buster Voe in Bray. Just look at this amazing weather and fantastic scenery. It's an easy walk along the burn to a popular waterfall. The particularly dry conditions meant the water levels were lower than normal, but it was still a really interesting place to explore. The waterfall is called Ramna Hol, or Pool of the Ravens in Old Norn. And just down the road is the Cake Fridge. The original Cake Fridge was created in 2012 by Lynn Johnson, a farmer and avid baker. She came up with the idea after the farmers' markets all closed in Shetland. It operates on the Honesty Box system, which is common across Shetland. The tea room was opened next to the fridge in 2019. And these are the views from the tea room. The very friendly pygmy goats live in the field next door. The house was inhabited until the 1960s and then restored in the 70s before opening as a museum. The museum is open May to September, but unfortunately it was shut on the day we visited. The house is presented as it would have looked in the 1870s. The thatched roof is secured against the strong Atlantic gales by ropes weighted with flagstones. The low stone walls also provide protection from gale force winds. The buildings comprise living accommodation, as well as a byre, a barn and a corn drying kiln. The shed in the garden has an upturned boat as a roof. We saw a couple more like this around the islands. The house is close to the sea, as the family would have been fishermen as well as farmers. The site is right by Sumber Airport. There is 4,000 years of human settlement in this one location. Neolithic people first settled at this site around 2700 BC. Remains of a Bronze Age settlement include a number of houses and a smithy. An Iron Age village was built over part of the earlier Bronze Age settlement. There are a number of roundhouses with individual cells built around a central hearth. After an apparent break in occupation, a massive broch was built, which was probably over 10 metres high. Part of the broch has been washed away by the sea. These are the stairs between the two walls, which would have gone to the upper floors. Other buildings grew up around the broch, including a large aisled roundhouse with a byre for sheltering livestock. There are 4 wheelhouses, so called because their roofs were supported on radial walls like spokes in a wheel. Vikings settled here in around AD 850. The traditional longhouse in the heart of the farm is still clearly visible. In the late 1200s, the Viking farmstead had been replaced by a farmhouse to the east with a barn and a corn kiln. This fortified manor house, known as the Old House of Sombra, was built by Earl Robert Stewart. He was infamous for his tyranny of the people of Orkeny and Shetland. If you watched our Orkney series, you would have seen the palace he had built in Bursey in Orkney. All too soon, it was time to catch the flight back to Aberdeen. We found out the flight had been delayed, and we would find out why once we got to Aberdeen. It turns out that the red arrows had been putting on a display in the area and had all flown back into Aberdeen.